Hello class, I'd like to give you another CSS layout tutorial. What I'm going to do is just continue to develop different layouts for you and show you new things. So I'll start with a brand new site. This is the one that we worked on for the last tutorial. This is really the first one that has a simple design to it that only uses CSS. So it doesn't take much code to get this done, which is nice. Just this HTML code and then this CSS style sheet. So what I'll do here is I'll close this out, do a brand new site. So I'll do site, new site. One thing I wanted to mention about this site and new site is that whenever you pick that option, it basically means that you're just bringing in a site for Dreamweaver, to use your site in Dreamweaver. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're creating a site from scratch. You could have a site that you developed like hand-coded, and it exists somewhere on your desktop or your hard drive, or it could even be a site from another program like Expression Web or something, and you want to bring it in. So it doesn't necessarily have to be brand new. It's just that most of what I do is new. I'll do a new folder, and we'll call this CSS standard layout. Okay. So this is, a notch up from the last one. And we'll call this CSS layout for the site name. Click Save. Alright, first thing you want to do is go File, New, HTML, HTML5, and click Create. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is create a layout that is centered on your page. And then we'll kind of add to this layout over the next tutorial, probably maybe one or two more tutorials where I sort of add to this, make it look a little bit better. So this will be your foundation for it, and then I'll probably come back with a few more. But I'll do save for this, do the index for the home page, click save. Okay, and what I'm going to do to start out with is create something called a container. Now, container is not 100% necessary, but a container sort of helps you structure your pages. So if you think of a container of being a giant box and then everything falls inside of that giant box, it kind of helps a little bit, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and build it with that. You don't necessarily always have to use it, but you'll see a lot of sites that use it, so it's kind of good practice to get started using a container, and then that holds all your division tags. So the division tag, the container is actually a division tag. There's a lot of different ways to do this stuff. I think what I'll do is just go ahead and set up the division tags first, and then go back and create the CSS rules for the division tags that I put in. So you got two different ways to put the division tags. You can insert layout objects division tag, or you can go to your code. I'll use the combination again just to tell you. Also, we're going to get to these others, the fluid grid layout and then the AP div tag. The AP div tag, if I were to select that right now, that is interesting. Although not very flexible. What it does is create a Dreamweaver layer. Used to be called layers, now they call them the AP division tag, which is correct, what they should be called, but they're just absolute positioning. So that means they stay exactly where you put them, no matter where your browser, or what size your monitor is. So I personally don't like that very well, but a lot of people use them, and they certainly make your life easy. You want to be careful about overlapping these, because that can cause some browser issues, inconsistencies in display, but I'll probably do another tutorial on those. What we want to do is something that's actually better than that and a little more advanced. We want to design our own layout from scratch that centers on the page and allows you to build elements into it from a graphics program like Photoshop. Okay, so I'll insert layout objects division tag, and I'll just ID this one container. Click OK. Okay, content for ID container goes there. I actually don't need any of that text in there, so I'll just get rid of that. Now let me go back to my code, and this part is important. Now when I say that I want a container and I want to put my other division tags in it, I want to make sure that they fall inside of that division tag. So that means between the opening of that division tag and the closing of it. Okay, you see that right there? I'm going to get rid of that. Dreamweaver put that in there when I did the AP div tag. Let's get rid of that. Okay, and we'll just set up the simple layout again. We're not doing columns yet. We'll do columns in one of the next tutorials. But div ID, we'll call this header. Okay, and this would be the just like that. Okay, next one, dive. Div ID equals, we'll do the menu, and then one more, content. Just like that. So I just type that in. If you'd rather do it in the design and the insert layout objects, you can actually do it right here also. You can see it'll put in a division tag for you just like that. Totally up to you. You know, if you like to type or if you like to use the WYSIWYG part of it. So I'll go back to design, and you can see I have my different elements right there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create some new rules to define each of these division tags. So by this point you should be getting fairly familiar with this. So let's do new CSS rule. And you can see that ID is the container right there. ID container. And then we're going to do new style sheet again. So click OK. Save style sheet as styles. Make sure it has your website listed there and click save. Okay, and let's go ahead and define the container. Now I'll go ahead and click OK quickly because I want to show you something else before I define that. You can always come back to that really quickly, you know, underneath your styles panel. Let's check out these sizes. Now you probably can't see them all, but I want to focus on this size right here. 1000 by 620. That's a good size for you to kind of benchmark and target right now because that maxes out the 1024 by 768 monitor. You do not have to go any smaller than that. You can possibly go bigger. If you're doing design for like a tablet or a smartphone or something, then you may choose a different size, or you may do a flexible web layout, which we'll talk more about those. They're a little more complex than what we're doing here. Most of the sites I design, though, they're about 1,000 pixels wide, and they look good on the iPad, so they'll look fine. Most every site seems to look tiny on an iPhone. You know, there are different ways to design now, but not many people are doing that. But we'll come back to some of the mobile design later on with the flexible web design. But as far as sizes go, 1,000 is a good target for your width. Now, I like to center my designs. They look better to me when I design for a center instead of stuck over there on the left-hand side. Part of the reason is because I always use large monitors, and a lot of other people do too. Most people have a resolution that's larger than 1024 by 768. So your site will look good in a larger monitor if you center or do like the liquid, the flexible layout. But we'll target 1000 by 620 for right now. And we will go ahead and set the height on these, even though you don't need to, because the content will stretch out the containers. But just for demonstration purposes, I like to set the height so you can see that it works. So I'm going to double click on container. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, just because of the way I'm demonstrating, I've got a smaller monitor, so I really don't want to do 1000 because you won't be able to see it functioning. So I'll just cut that in half and do like a miniature site for you. So this is going to be the container. So the container is going to be the big one. So I'll make this one 550. The rest of them I'm going to make 500. When you're doing this and practicing on it, make sure you use 1000 as your benchmark. You could do 1000 and then like a little bit smaller than that for some of the other tags. Don't go over 1000 though, but that's going to be the width that you should use. I'm just using this smaller width for demonstration purposes because otherwise it'll stretch out and I'll get side-to-side scrolling because I got my Dreamweaver set up in a smaller window. Okay, and then height, we'll make that one around 400, but you would do about 600 when you're practicing. And then we need to do, I'll go ahead and apply that. We need to do something with the margins here. Now the margin is actually centering. So the margin helps you center. The only two margins you need to set would be right and left, and you set those to automatic. So we're going to set the margins to auto for all of these tags. Okay. I'll click apply. Now that automatically centers everything because the other division tags are inside of that. Now I will go ahead and apply the auto to the other tags just because it's a good habit to get into doing that. So right and left automatic margins, that'll center your design. So that's under the CSS rule definition for container and then the box. Now I also like to put borders on here, not necessarily for the design, but when I'm building it so that I can see what I'm doing. We'll just put a real light gray one on there so we can see it. Okay, and one other thing we'll do, let's not do the same for all of them. Let's not put a top one on there. So let's do none for the top. Okay, so that's no margin on the top. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. Okay, what does that do? Well, it keeps you from just doing non-stop boxes on your screen. I'll show you what it makes it look a little better. So if I go back to modify page properties and I'm on the appearance CSS and I type 0 for the top margin, click apply, click OK. Now let's go ahead and preview this. Let me do a file preview. I'll preview it in Chrome. Okay, you can check this out. It has just a nice little line so I can see what I've done. And it centers. So if I take this screen, I'll drag it out so you can see it like that. It centers, and it just looks like it's coming right down the top, just like it's built in. So you can see that the design is going to start to be nice and clean. You know, it'll be a slick design when we actually get done with it. You could fill in a nice background with this, and then you'll get some different designs. So I'll probably do that in the next tutorial, you know, to kind of build on this. So let me close that. Come back here. Let's go ahead and finish this out and just kind of add to the look of the site.